Sam Worthington. And last but certainly not least, Zoe Saldana. Thank you, James, for this wonderful movie.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Buzz.
I would be there for sure in a heartbeat, but apparently I'm infectious, so I'm really unsafe.
Better safe than sorry. We've all returned to Pandora with this film. Zoe, I'm going to start with you with a very simple question. What was it like coming back?
It was exciting. It was amazing. We felt like the day would never come, you know. The first film was so special, and its reception was just anything, unlike anything we had ever imagined. To get the opportunity to come back, it just felt like it was the gift that kept on giving, you know.
Sam, for you, what did it feel like? And also, can you give us, I suppose, the scope of how long you were filming this?
You give me a pretty easy question to start with.
And what it looked like. Well, we're going to get tougher, I promise.
So the question is, what was the scope?
Well, let's start with how long. What exactly was the commitment of coming back to this, and what stages did that look like?
I think most of us got a phone call in about 2013 when Jim got back from going to the Mariana Trench, as you do. Which was, I think that was when he was basically saying he figured out how to continue and expand the world. And I think like 2015, I was pushing my wife around the room, who was pregnant at the time, that's why we were pushing her. Saw the story in picture form, very detailed, very amazing designs of the whole saga. Then I think it was about 2017 was then it was like, well, how are we going to do that? So that was, I think that's about right for all of us, was someone's been involved since say 2017. But then we were still, Jim was still working on it right up until we locked off, and me and Zoe did some motion capture stuff earlier this year. So there's always been people involved in some level, including us.
Yeah. It's so good to see it on the screen finally after all that. Yeah. Sigourney and Steven, when I watched the first Avatar, I would not have necessarily known how you would come back. Sigourney, what was your initial reaction to being told you'd be playing a 14-year-old girl, and how did you think about approaching that? Because I think it's both seamless and really wonderful to see you in a completely different kind of part.
Well, I thought if he was crazy enough to ask me, I might be just crazy enough to say yes. Luckily, we talked, Jim and I, in 2010, just had a conversation really about this forest girl who preferred being with animals and plants and trees to being with people. And so luckily, that gave me some time to, be able to think who Kiri was, and so that I'm grateful I had, like 7 years to think about it. And what was your second question?
No, that was it. Steven, what about for you? When did you know you would be coming back in a different form, and how did you react to that?
I knew I would be coming back quite a while ago. Jim mentioned it to me as far back as 2007, actually. We were at a party in Wellington. But at that point, of course, we hadn't even finished Avatar, so it would be a little presumptuous to think that I'd be coming back in a sequel, because we didn't know. But then in 2010, Jim said, "You're back," and then began talking about the arc that the character would have, and I found it very, very exciting to think that I would be able to go deeper, with the character, maybe get into some of his motive, get beyond pure hatred and vile at some point, and get into some of the deeper motivations. And I was delighted to be back because, unfinished business.
Well, I mean, if Jim found a way to bring back Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator, then he was certainly going to find a way to bring back Sigourney and Steve.
Kind of a new masterclass there from Jason. Sigourney, I saw you really not in agreement there, and I thought about the physicality of Curie and what you bring to her. How did you find this exact kind of technology and way of performing liberating when playing?
Well, I love hearing what Jim said, because obviously I couldn't do it at all without whatever magic he has going. And what I appreciated so much about the freedom this technology gives you is, yeah, we're in black suits with helmets, with cameras, that all drops away very quickly, and you're just sort of, essence to essence with the other actors, like an early theater rehearsal. But for me, I was able to do a kind of preparation every day, standing outside the volume and just put Curie back in and drop this shell. And I found the process of working with Jim, and also he'd do whatever you might suggest. He's so generous, but it gave you such incredible freedom to just be completely present and go with what was happening and let it go and trust that we would always find the scene and we would find the truth. So I think I've fallen in love with the process. It's so actor-centric and exciting, especially to work with these amazing actors and the kids who are,
One thing that really stuck out to me versus the first one is how much we get to see you, especially you, Zoe and Sam, play off of each other. And this film is so much about family, and that really comes through in the performances. So, in this kind of system of performing, what was it like acting with each other, creating that intimacy, that depth that we then see translated on screen?
I was telling Jim the other day, I did this movie where I choose movies for sometimes really weird reasons. And I did one movie just because it required me to be in prosthetics. I don't think I ever read the script properly, to be honest. But the idea was I wanted to check out, to compare the two processes. And I said to Jim, we spent like 8 hours in prosthetics, and it was kind of derivative of the first movie, to be honest. So it made me big blue prosthetic head and I was this blue alien covered in 8 hours of prosthetics. And what I found was I couldn't relate to the other actor. Any emotion that was coming out of me was kind of stuck by the makeup. And it was, I'm not putting down what the makeup team did. What they did was incredible, but I couldn't translate a performance. Even to the point where I couldn't even speak because the lips weren't moving. So every time I said the line, the lips didn't move, sometimes with the epoxy, so they just rewrote it and said, oh, he's in the operation, his voice box. So the whole thing, I just felt stifled. I couldn't connect to the other actor, I couldn't see, and then it was like, well, this to me has always felt like the future of makeup, where Jim's right, we can be as subtle as we want, we can be as emotional as you want, and you're connecting. It kind of, we don't have to worry about, is my performance translated? We can do what we need to do, which is sit back in it and relax on the performance when needed, and allow even just a thought to convey and trust in the system. So when you're doing this with another actor, it is just about changing what's inside each other and concentrating on that rather than, shit, is my performance coming through? Am I being beyond the mask kind of thing? And so, it becomes, as Sigourney said, very liberating, and it gives you a freedom to build a relationship that hopefully, transcends the fact that we're just being, digitally built.
In the first movie, we this process takes so much preparation and rehearsals and training. So by the time you shoot it, you capture it, which is the version of shooting and performance capture. You're transported into this world, and Jake Sully and Neytiri had a very solid backstory, Pandora was so alive, you know, by the time we started shooting the first movie. And where Jake was coming from. Earth was so present and this world was so new. Like he, you know, Sam really brought that to the table. Their connection, you know, is a testament, I guess, of our chemistry as people that came together working, you know, under the guidance of like one of our idols and our mentor and we were allowed, it was so permissive to let your imagination just completely go. And so the connections were real. When, to come back to that and now to witness an expansion of that love that was established, it just felt appropriate for Jake and Neytiri. It felt like he was gonna raise those stakes. Sam and I, by coincidence, found ourselves in our lives married and starting at our nests, you know? So there was a lot to rip out of, you know, from our personal lives.
Contractually obligated to have children.
Yeah, it's in the contract.
It's also
I thought it was so dedicated of you guys to actually each have 3 children.
I had to tell my wife, this is methods for the work.
all boys. Yeah. But yeah, yes, like Sam and I did develop a very you know, real connection when we did this. But the space that Jim provided just allowed us to really connect in that sense. You know, it kind of felt like theater, like an intimate roundabout, you know, theater, you know, play that we were all putting together.
You know, it's probably worth noting also that for the kids who were involved in our cast, these young actors who performance capture is acting to them. This is how they're learning acting.
Yeah.
There's nothing alien about this to them. It comes naturally to them, and when you talk to them about acting, they will talk in terms of performance capture. And I think how fortunate for them, really, because it truly is. It's not going to replace anything, but it's on equal footing and offers so many, I think, advantages, which Jim, I think, articulated really, really well, and we have as well. There's just an honesty, of liberation to it, and you're all working 100% at the same time. You're not doing off-camera work in your curlers, getting called from your trailer, you know, to do off-camera lines or anything. We're all working 100% all the time. When you enter the volume, which is where we do the performance capture work, you are in a world of shared collective imagination with your fellow actors. And to me, that's what acting is about at the most fundamental level. And so I get all kind of shivery when I think about it, because Jim Cameron created this.
Yeah, so, you know, once we sort of cracked the code of how to actually do it physically, then we had to get the entire cast comfortable acting in water is no problem. Paddling around at the surface, everybody could swim. It was underwater. These characters are often asked to hold their breath for 2 or 3 minutes at a time for a scene, or if the actors were asked to do that. The presumption is that the characters could actually hold their breath even longer than that. So it was kind of like boot camp. It was like ocean boot camp. And I happen to know from my previous movies that actors love boot camp because it's part of the preparation, part of becoming the character, part of putting on the static apnea.
Static breath hold, so I'm not moving.
Yeah. But that gave you in a moving scene where, you know, your brain's highly active, you're using up a lot of oxygen, you're swimming around, doing whatever the scene required. You probably had a good 2.5 minutes of work time before you'd start to feel distressed, and everybody had the permission to cut. Anybody could cut at any moment if they were uncomfortable, needed to start over or whatever, take a little break, whatever it was. And of course, paramount in our minds was safety, as working with water is potentially dangerous. So we had a lot of safety protocols, a lot of safety divers in the water. you know, when you do a Western, you ask the actors if they can ride a horse, they always say yes. But at least in a Western, you got a horse. And you got people that know how to teach you how to ride a horse. On this movie, we had to invent the creatures, and we had to figure out how to have them physically move underwater. Then we had to figure out how to ride the creatures. And then we had to take that and teach the actors how to ride the creatures. So it was a multi-part problem. But it was all to get to this kind of state when people are watching the movie, nobody's ever seen these creatures before, nobody knows what it would be like to ride one, but it has to look plausible and effortless, meaning that there's an effortlessness to the reality that we're projecting. Not that riding the creature is effortless. In fact, we take some time to show how difficult it is. But the sense of reality has to be kind of effortless for the viewer. And there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of preparation for the actors and the stunt people both.
Where did I come from? Why? How? What? And because that always dictates just the way I'm going to react, you know, as that character, and not react as me, as the person. Obviously, there's always going to be parts of you that will bleed into what you're doing, but Neytiri is such a unique and solid character that she just, you know, she needed her backstory to just be strong. Like, does she have a sister? What else has she lost besides her father, home tree, her people? How does she feel? Does she, like, you know, is she, and I know she loves Jake and she'll do anything. He's sort of macho, but he's a sky person, and they've brought in so much calamity. How do you wrestle with that? And then obviously that spirals into this whole research of displacement, and when families that come from two worlds come together and they start a family, how is that dynamic when they disagree on the way that they parent, or if they have different belief systems? All of those things were important in order for me to understand the Neytiri, the mother, you know, and the wife, the partner to Jake, because Jim presented all of these conflicts that demanded just a lot of, you know, just research on that behalf. Like, she'll never question him. It's unnatural for the Navi to question the leader of the Torumato, but this is also her husband. This is also the father of her children, and she may have disagreements and how he is choosing to do something, and how does that affect their love and their journey, and when they lose something so precious in their lives, are they gonna blame each other? Like, all of these things are sort of like where I'm living with, and Neytiri once again came back to my life in such a rich form, and she really, Jim and Neytiri fucking ripped me apart, you know, because I was also in my personal life dealing with all these things. We were shooting in 2017, bleeding into 2018. You know, I'm becoming a mother. I was reconciling a lot of conflict when it came to just like my issues with men, you know, and it's ironic that I have 3 men at home that I'm raising, you know, with a husband that's such a flower of a person, and here I am playing this woman that's carrying so much rage, and so there was just a lot of it that was, you know, just rich to get into, I'm gonna say.
I'm just going to jump in with a quick question, because Zoe said something the other day that I thought was quite profound. Zoe, you're talking about Neytiri was such a fearless character in the first film, and that you don't really know fear until you become a mother, and you felt that in your own life, that you were fearless as an actor, fearless as a performer. The first time you really felt fear was when you put it outside yourself, your fear for your child, somebody that was more important to you than yourself. And we see that with Neytiri. even kind of put it together that that's what I was writing. But she's brought down to a kind of a mortal level by having these kids. And that's what we're doing with your character and with Sam's character.
That's true.
I think the biggest challenge for me is that any actor, you're going to get stuck in your head. You got to get out of your head. But when you're under the water or doing anything, you know, in that tank, it's silent. No one can speak, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, this speaks more. So you can't get out of your head. So all your thoughts are increasing. So I found once you settled your head under the water and just did your job, it actually helped when we came back into the normal scenes, the volume scenes, because you can learn to get out of your own way. So it kind of helped. At the same time, you know, listening to your critic, he was kind of scary.
What about for you? Challenges of the water.
Well, I play a character who loves the water, and I do love the water. I didn't know underwater as well as I do now, and I would get a little nervous before all of this every day. So I would make sure I would get to the pool about 20 minutes earlier so I can get all the gear on, and then I can do the famous static breath holds, which really get rid of your mammalian sense, your mammalian instincts, and really can turn you into a thinking water creature. And I'm so grateful to Jim. Jim Cameron does ask you to do challenging things, but he always gives you the support you need to do it successfully. And when I look at the movie, I am so astonished at how comfortable we all look in the water. I don't think that's something you can act. We were comfortable in the water by the time we were shooting these scenes. And so, you know, whatever Jim asks me to do, it's easier to say yes, because otherwise he'll tease you. But in general, he also makes sure you get the help you need.
Sir, Steve, may I have your autograph, please?